Welcome to the Brandinc PR Podcast, where we dive deep into the stories and strategies of today's most impactful entrepreneurs, business leaders, and professionals. Whether you're building your brand, scaling your business, or just looking for inspiration, you're in the right place. All right, my PR powerhouses. Grab your notebooks and lace up those metaphorical sneakers, okay? Because today we are sprinting into greatness with a certified legend in the world of athletics and sports leadership. She's a trailblazer, an educator, a coach, a magazine publisher, and she's been amplifying Black women's voices in sports long before it was trending on your timeline, okay? Yes, fam, I'm talking about Monique A.J. Smith. With over 30 years in athletic administration, a powerhouse podcast of her own, and a monthly training academy that could whip any team into championship shape, okay? This woman has receipts, okay? Results, and a whole community behind her. She's here to talk leadership, legacy, and how to command your space in the ever-evolving arena of sports management. So grab your water bottles, all right, and get ready to take notes because Monique is about to drop some gold medal level gems on the mic. Monique, welcome to the show.
Wow, that was an introduction. That was fabulous. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And, on the Brandinc PR podcast, we got to do our thing. And, as the host here, it's always important to set the mood and set the stage. So happy to have you here and be able to talk more about your journey.
Thank you so much.
Of course. So first things first, okay, I want to talk, let's talk about your career. So you've had such an extraordinary journey in athletic administration. What was the initial spark that drew you into this space and kept you here for 30 years?
Well, I'm going to start back all the way back to high school. I was a scorekeeper in high school and in the 8th grade. So when I went to the high school, I had a teammate. Well, I was a scorekeeper for Tony Massenberg. He ended up playing 17 years in the league, but before that, he went to college and he was being recruited by Lefty Driesell. So for Maryland Terrapins, I did by hand all of his stats. So I kind of said, okay, this is telling a story. So my English teacher said I should major in PR. So I went to Hampton University, majored in PR. Promotions is my thing, period. Having events. I was SJ president. So I'm in college. My sophomore year, there's a sign on the bulletin board that said looking for CIAA PR interns. I was like, perfect. I'm like, I know how to do this with my eyes closed. So I did. And then I came into knowledge of sports information, which is truly the PR people for sports. They didn't teach you that in class per se. I knew about sports writers. I would practice writing sports, by seeing what I would write and look at what the sports writers would do. But then I was like, I like the fact of creating your own narrative as the PR person versus seeking the story. And so my first job out of college is sports information director at St. Paul's College. And unfortunately, the woman who hired me was the very first female athletic director for the CIAA. She became ill and passed away. And so unexpectedly. So here I am doing what I know to do, which is the PR and promoting and, telling the story, getting people on all conference and writing the game recap, all that good stuff. But then I had to learn the administrative side because the person that was guiding us is no longer here. I had the blessed opportunity to watch it for 1 year. It's more than the game. It's about being in a student athlete's life and being able to help them make choices and all that kind of good stuff. So I had to learn financial aid, compliance, all of that. And I said, I want to get my master's in sports administration so I could be better equipped to handle all these things. And this was in 1990. Okay, 91. So I got my master's in 94. Ironically, there was only 2 programs in the state of Virginia at the time, University of Richmond and ODU. So I was like in the 3rd class of their sports management master's program. And then I became an athletic director at 28 years old. Yeah, we
Wow.
went through 5
Wow.
different ADs. And I'll be honest with you, I really didn't want to give up the PR part,
Yeah.
but
I get it. I understand.
yeah, but situation called for it. But it was good because a work study student I had with me, man, she just took over.
Mhm.
And in my mind, I was like, if I don't release, then she won't have a place to be. So that's where the whole thing about planting seeds years later,
Yeah.
that's what I do. I plant seeds of empowerment to lead others to greatness, seeing the potential, putting you out there, being the sidelines. Okay, you got this, try this. And so that's how I really got my name in it. I began to 97. I was on the first Division II federated committee that created all the other committees within the division.
Wow.
So and one of my colleagues said that I would be great because as an SID, we know how to vote or put people in positions or tell their story. So you had to read all of these applications for all these committees. He said, you'll be perfect for that. So again, someone seeing something in me, putting me in positions to plant seeds with other people. And then I left. I went Division One as a compliance person. And then the commissioner of the CIAA, Leon Carey, said, come on back home. I want you to be the PR person for the CIAA. And I'm pretty direct. I said, well, sir, I can't come back to do the same thing I did as an intern. And he said, I don't expect you to. You come in and you train somebody to do what you don't want to do, and you do what you do want to do. So that was a no-brainer. I remained there for 13 years. I hired a girl that was straight out of Hampton, 10 years my junior, but trained by the same person I was. And she became the PR person for the CIAA. And I moved up to Director of Championships and Director of Governance. I did leave in 2013. For the last 11 years, I've been a consultant to athletic departments and individuals who wish to advance in athletic administration. And I began teaching at Hampton University, alma mater, as an adjunct, teaching sports management courses for the last 8 academic years.
Wow, that is incredible, incredible. So being one of the first Black women in athletic administration in the 90s, right? What was that experience like for you? Were there moments you felt like you had to create the lane you wanted to thrive in?
Well, to be honest, there was not the autonomy to create anything. You in
Mm,
war, and you got to go ahead and do what you got to do when it's presented. And so I really did learn on the fire. And I'm setting the stage for that is because in the 90s, sports management was not really sports management. It was athletic trainers trying to go get their certification to remain as athletic trainer.
mm.
People in my class were talking about um, menstrual cycles and how it affect running. I could care less about that. You follow me?
Yeah.
So I had to. Again, I'm an avid reader. I went out and that's how I knew I wanted to get my master's in that. It was the 90s. It was when the NCAA started. They created the clearinghouse so that everybody could figure out if everybody going to be able to even the playing field academically. You know,
Mhm.
and so that was new, and I knew that compliance was going to be a new thing. There was a lot of corruptions and a lot of stories and books being written about that. And one was very interesting. Tiger Woods actually went to college at Stanford as a golfer. However, let's say,
Mhm.
just name a PR person that's a legend to you.
Oh my gosh, I could go with so many. I mean,
Just name
for
one.
more recently, or are we talking about in history? Because I could go as far back as Ida B.
Okay.
Wells.
Who
I
would
could
you want to
go,
have dinner with? Who would you want to have dinner with?
oh, well, definitely Ida B. Wells.
Okay.
I
Okay. So
definitely
stop
want to have
there.
dinner with her.
So Ida B. Wells takes you out to lunch or dinner. Okay.
Mhm,
But you're an athlete.
mhm,
That isn't that you're being ineligible because you got an extra benefit. They're paying for food for you.
mm, mm.
Now, to
Okay.
the normal person, this makes no sense.
Mhm,
You know, Curtis Strange is taking him out to eat. All right, up and coming golfer. He loses his eligibility. Tiger Woods. You see what I'm saying? And I'm reading this, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Who is fighting for the key? Da, ba, da, ba, da. So that's what got me, deep diving. And then, honestly, I became a lot of committees setting the stage, and I can't say course correcting, but
Yes.
planting my seed about what doesn't make sense. We're HBCUs, we're Division II. Those rules over there don't apply to us. Thus, that's how we began to have federation and create our own. You see?
Mm. Okay, I see what you mean. I see what you mean. So you were basically able to establish a lane, and that's how that
Yeah.
came to be. But it was born out of a need, a clear
Yeah.
need that the community had. Yes, no, I definitely feel you. I feel you.
Mm.
Okay. So kind of switching gears here and getting more into like personal branding because you just spoke on PR. How intentional has your branding strategy been throughout your career? And what advice would you give to professionals in athletics or sports management who are struggling to really define and own their voice in this space, right?
Well, we're there because, again, we are in a time where name, image, and likeness is a buzzword, but it is the billboard right now. What athletics is being built upon right now,
Mhm.
and I say you are already a brand.
Mm.
Now you got to figure out what it is that you're expert in and put that out there. I tell this to my professionals, my student athletes, because you want it to be when a person has a need,
Yes.
you're the first person that comes to mind.
Mm.
And so with me, honestly, the world has become very entrepreneurial. So you got a lot of people telling you what you must do, how you do it.
Yep.
I've been blessed. The one thing that the Lord blessed me with is creativity. All right.
Mm.
So, I mean, I'm a creative problem solver. Slogans come to me in my sleep. I treat my clients like I would my student athletes,
Yeah.
trying to get them all conference. And we talking about when there was no social media. You would actually make a flyer and you would mail it to all the voters. And then
Mm.
and
Yep.
then we had the fax, and the fax wasn't even a sheet of paper. It was that rolling looking
Yep.
like thing that would
Yep.
that would dissolve.
Yep. Yep.
You know what I
Remember
mean?
that.
But but I take the same thing about promoting is also influencing decision makers on policies. So it kind of like it's just me. I mean, just when I was in high school, our issue was I'm from a small town,
Mhm.
but the town made within a county that has 4 different towns. You see what I'm saying?
Mm.
And so we may not have all gone to elementary school, but we all went to high school together. So how do we make it that we're all one and stop being divided? Well,
Yeah.
sports is that thing that brings everybody together.
Mhm.
So this is how, as an SGA president, as a scorekeeper, trying to bring all that together. And my campaign was stamp out apathy.
Mm.
Now I'm in high school.
Mhm.
I still don't understand where I came up with the word. Somebody must have told me that because it wasn't part of my language,
Yes.
but it became part of my language. But I had a visual. I had like a big foot stamping out that to be able to grow it for us. And so that's what I mean about you try to be able to come with a slogan that becomes a stick. So with me, I can do a lot of things. This is an example I'm trying to tell everybody. You can do a lot of things in athletics. I've done compliance, championships,
Mm.
um, all of that. But the thing I like the most, which people remember, is professional development, how I grow people.
Mm.
Thus, my company is called Seeds of Empowerment. My
Mm.
podcast is about a chat in the garden because I want you to think about growing when you talk to me.
Mm.
And you need to remember that growth is uncomfortable. So don't come if you don't want to be stretched. You follow me?
Oh.
Same thing. You bring me in as a consultant. They say, yeah, don't bring it in if you're not gonna do the recommendations. I'm gonna do the recommendations. You're gonna pay. You can do what you want to do. But then again, then I'm probably guaranteeing more business because you're gonna come back.
I'm just saying. I know that's right. I feel like that needs to be a PSA. I was just telling someone the other day about consulting. I don't even know how we got on it, but how I broke it down. And I'm kind of quick with the words, just like you, right? How I broke it down to them is like, listen, because this was the issue, is that they kept consulting out, but when they would consult out, they wouldn't listen to the person they were consulting with. They would take what they would tell them and what they would advise them based on their situation, and they would tweak and prod and come up with their own solution, right? And we get how that works. So my response to them was, if you're not getting the results that you're looking for, let's first start with the fact that you're not even listening to the people you're consulting with, who are the experts in their space that you ask to come into your situation and to help you with the problem that you have. That's the first thing. And then the second thing, because, again, I like to bring in some illustration, but I was like, you have to think about it like working out. The fitness trainer is telling you to do this many sit-ups, but you decided you want to do how many you want to do, and then you wonder why you don't have abs. It's the same thing. You got to listen to your consultants. They're here for this reason. And again, you're asking for their expertise in your situation. If you follow the formula that they give you, the expectation is that it should give you this type of result. Now, when you get to tweaking and prodding, results are not guaranteed because it's no longer the formula that they created for you. And that makes a big difference. So I love that you said that, because I think that needs to be a PSA for people that are outsourcing and asking consultants to come on board. It's like, you got to listen to the consultant. You can't make up your own formula after they've given you the play. We gave you the play. You got to play it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem with critical thinking.
Yeah.
Because I've had business coaches. And I mean, here's the thing. If the person gives you their template that they give to everyone, then they're stuck. Yeah, it works here.
The template, yeah.
But if they listen to what you need and they create it just for you, because I'll be honest with you, I've had business coaches say, why don't you need to have the word sports in your so-and-so and so-and-so, and the word black.
Hello.
I did not, because I'm glad I didn't, because number one, you see DEI folks are all disappearing, and they're attacking those who have the word black. But so to me,
a real thing.
I did it the way I did it because it's like earworms.
Yeah.
Those who are supposed to come to me, garden growth, will hit them. You see? Now, I'm going to get other women who are not in sports to want to learn, because there's a lot of male-dominated fields out here. It's very similar. Or a person who's an athlete in a different field, and I always feel that they are. But, I mean, I'm not excluding. I got white women in my Facebook group has grown to 3,600 members. Okay? And there are men in there and there are women. And I'm fine with that, because I need those people to see what we got and hire those people. So I'm not excluding anyone, but I also know that words trigger psychological movement.
Yes.
And that's the movement I want.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so glad that you spoke on that, because that is something to consider from the entrepreneurial standpoint, and how you're positioning yourself as a brand. Are you catching more people by how you're presenting, or are you unintentionally excluding yourself out of conversations that people very well may be your customer? They're no longer looking at you because they think that your product is tailored towards a certain group or certain population. And that can be very alienating. Absolutely. So yeah. No, so I'm glad you spoke on that, because I think that is a big thing that, especially given the current political climate, we have to really, really hone in on and really determine, what does it mean for our businesses. And if, and I could tell you, oh goodness, just like even a couple of weeks ago, I had a buddy of mine tell me, and she was a Latina woman. She was telling me that she was considering taking it off of her website, because she actually had a business owner, it was a white business owner, reach out, was very interested in her services, but then made it a point in the meeting to say, okay, so before we kind of move forward everything, on your website, it says that, you're Latino owned, and all the other stuff, right? Does that mean that you only focus on Hispanic businesses? Because we're clearly not. And you say that you speak Spanish, and so is our materials only going to be in Spanish, or is it going to be this way? And she was offended by it, but
exactly.
And I understood where they were coming from, though, because of how, when you look at her site, how it's presented, you would think, okay, so you're geared towards the Hispanic Latino community. And so in which case, okay, who all it's only a certain group that's going to fit into all of that. So that's kind of tying into what you were saying, in that, how you're presenting yourself. You may not think about it like you think that it's something that, I have pride in my culture, and nobody's saying not to have pride in your culture. However, depending on how you're wording it and how you're presenting it, it can come across that you only cater towards this specific group. And that's not the case. But communication and messaging could be telling a completely different story that you didn't expect.
But let me say this. I'm real direct. I told you that beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
That is like a lever.
Mm.
If they ask those questions, that's why I like being an entrepreneur. I invite you to find someone else.
Mm.
Because number one, that was defining me and who I am. Okay? Not being who my customers are. Because if that was the case, it would say, come on, come whatever, you must be so-and-so. All right? So that partnership is already gone left. And look, I love the storylines in fiction, but in fiction it can be teaching you a lesson. There is a book line called Blanche on the Lamb. The lady is a cleaning lady. All right. People felt, you're taking a job for cleaning. No, I have a job where I can select my customers. That's what entrepreneurship really does mean. You have choices. And when you have choices, you have freedom. And you have freedom to work with people who want to work with you.
Oh, I like that. That's a word. That is a whole word. But I would expect that for someone like yourself that has the experience and the years in to know these types of things and position these types of things. Now that's you're giving some words now. Okay, so you wear so many hats, and I think we've talked about a couple of those hats, being a consultant, an educator, a publisher, a coach. How do you define leadership across these different roles that you have?
Well, as a publisher, I try to guide people to I do expert marketing. So again, like it's kind of goes to the question you asked me previously. I help you find what is that one thing that you do at every place you've been. Now, you might have created a program at University X, and then you go to University Y. The name of the program may change, but your steps to create it is your intellectual property. So as educators, we don't necessarily know how to monetize that because we don't know how to package it. So the magazine allows you, and I'm continuously telling you, what's your framework? What's your steps? What's the storyline? When you created this, then this happened. And then what's your call to action at the end? Because the magazine is not about a person's career path. It is about what their expertise is. So that when you have a need, I got a young lady that is over esports at a HBCU. And she was a volleyball coach and moved over to the academic side. And but she's able to consult other universities how to create these programs, because I'm telling you, in that space they give money. Big corporations give money in gaming. Hacking. Like the word hacking, I thought was a bad word, but apparently it's a good word.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. So she's educating us. So if we should, I got a young lady that does AI, and how do you do that, And to me, I had a very interesting situation. Someone sent me a video introduction. I'm swearing that it's an actor, actually an actor sent it to me.
Wow.
And I'm going like, I know it's not you. All right. I know it's your staff or somebody, whatever. And because I watch what she says. You follow me? And I'm going like, yeah, because you can have you can say you want to sound like Denzel Washington and the Denzel, and they'll make it, and he's talking just directly at you. And I'm going like, yeah, I'm educated. So, and the actor said, I have a degree from Columbia. I'm going like, no, you don't. But that's the whole point. Because I'm an educator, that was said. So I have a person that can go to and show it to them. Is this AI? Because it should be like when you do the videos, pictures, to look for fingers.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
It's in the
Okay,
hand.
but I need to know how to look for in video. You see
Yep.
what I'm saying?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, hey, you gotta love technology because right there, they tell on themselves often. And those experts that are in this space, it's always good to have them in your corner because they can help educate you on things that you may not know or be aware of, right? But it's all in the hands, especially with that AI. That's
Yes.
somebody had to tell me that, okay, you can always tell, look at the hands, look at the
Uh-huh.
mouth, how it's going, what they're saying, like specifically listen to them. And that's where
Mm-hmm.
you can pick up on those subtle hints that, okay, this is not a real person that sat down
Right.
and recorded this. This is them sending a bot
Right.
to do it. So
Yeah.
so crazy how technology has changed. All right, so tell us a little bit more about your Advanced Academy for Athletic Administrators. What inspired you to create this, and what kind of transformation have you witnessed from your participants?
Mm. Well, I'm going to start with the transformation first because the person I was speaking of, she came to me. She was very disheartened that she was no longer coaching. And I said, okay, you're still you, no matter where you are.
Yeah.
So, but her confidence level was bad. So I knew working with me, I could get that up, but I also knew she needed community. So the Advanced Academy allows for entrepreneurs in the sports management space and athletic administrators to have a safe place to be able to have conversation about their wins and their concerns, hear from me because it's group coaching,
Yes.
and hear from what resources do they use. And because this young lady was on a college campus, um, you know, like anything else, is a chance for budgets to be cut. But if you learn how to go raise your own, and so different people had that, oh yeah, I did so and so. I use this fundraiser for because now is you got to be careful because you need to make sure the money comes through the university. Because don't send me a cash app. I'm gonna like, no, that's not real.
Nope.
So don't make sure you look legit. And then if you can show you increase the bottom line for the university. Now the key is sometimes you can't keep it, but that's okay. If you got the right attitude, you realize
Mhm.
I'm getting it for the pot, and then I'm seen as that. You raise
Yeah.
your profile. So next thing I know, the president is loving her. She's putting posts up on LinkedIn. She's getting speaking engagements. Her confidence rises. That's it. So that's really to be able to. Um, I've been doing this all along before there was a platform. My telephone was always ringing at St. Paul's College, at the CIAA. How do I do this? And really, it's just really soft skills. Okay. I remember getting a girl a job from being a sports information director to being an administrator, right? And without SID duties. And the president said, oh yeah, I want her to be the chief of staff of athletics. And she said, just tell her, create her own job description. Hello?
Okay.
Exactly. But then when she
There you
gets
go.
there, my person is like, oh, she's messy, she's crazy. Da, da, da. I was like, yeah, remember, how'd you get your job? If she wasn't like that, you wouldn't have jumped through all those other hoops to get there. You got to realize that what got you there is the same person and she's not going to change. So that's why I started doing workshops. I started
Mhm.
doing workshops when I was in the CIAA. I started doing retreats, and I would bring a facilitator in to address issues that I knew I kept hearing. So then when I left the CIAA, I started having retreats using my timeshare. And that worked out beautifully. I remember one young lady came in, she was a high school AD, first couple of years, what do I do with this? And she got her PhD. Now she's in the state of Georgia. She's like the state of Georgia AD of the year like 9 times. Okay.
Okay.
So
All
those are like
right.
results. And it was funny because I said you need to do an internship in the central office. so then you can see the big picture of how what you're doing is a big, because again, there was
Yes.
no Black women ADs that she could go and follow. I said, yeah, but you can go and see what people are looking for. You can be able to rise yourself up into that. And she has no desire to go on the college side. I said, okay, that's fine. We can make a market, and she has, because all of the other female ADs in Georgia, they have somebody say, she got 8 times the state of Georgia AD of the year. Come on now, that's
I mean,
unheard of.
yeah.
So my problem began, the retreats and the dates and my timeshare were not clicking. And I was like, okay, we'll try this the next month. But then I said, people need me now. And I began to use Zoom. And so that's where the Advanced Academy took over from the retreats that I would have. And I would, get a week, and I have people, like 3 people the first part of the week, and 3 people bring in speakers and whatnot. So now it kind of works out, because now we're a group. You follow me? So when I pick a date to say, let's all come here, everybody wants to come because everybody's like supporting each other. I mean, I love it. We meet every third Sunday on Zoom. And so one young lady was on a major state committee, and she invited the young lady I told you was in college talking about esports to come and speak to the high school athletic administrators. And then I got another young lady. She does Sports Mom University. All right, she has a major platform with parents of athletes, and she knows everything I don't know about the entities doing collectives and who owns them and who's working with what university. She knows their names, and we're all like this. She says, I'll keep sending you all some stuff. Like, that's our inside person. Because she said one person started this entity. Like, I don't know if it's Open Doors, but there's an organization that does this. But then the person who started it left it and started another one. You follow me? Like the inside track, like you're entertainment, you know how the background, who does what.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, so she's into that. So then she said, this was last Sunday. She said, she reminded us that the draft was going to be in Pittsburgh. Another young lady who's in there and in the magazine, lives in Pittsburgh. She says, I want to invite you to come speak on this panel. You see what I'm saying? Like, I really, now I'm just the orchestra. I'm just sitting there going like, ding, ding, ding. And then they're all just doing its own. And that's what community does. It's not just me. And you build trust, and you know their knowledge base. I tell people anything, join committees. Like almost every woman in the CIAA, I said, okay, this is just opening. I want you to apply. I want you to apply. Like even with this, I'm going to say, I got a couple of ladies I think it'd be great for your show. I need you to get out there. So that's the kind of thing I do. I'm the pusher. I'm the planter of seeds.
Yes, and a connector. Okay.
Yes, very much
At
so.
least. Yes. So from your perspective, how has the landscape changed for women, especially Black women in athletic administration over the last decade?
Well, we've had some great successes.
Yeah.
But that's one reason I started the podcast, because I had been to a lot of meetings, and I knew that the NCAA was giving money to do diversity training or concentrate on a certain area. And I remember sitting in for the Commissioner Leon Carey at the Division II Commissioners meeting, and they were going around saying how to use your grant money. And one commissioner said, "Oh, I wasn't able to use my diversity money. I didn't find anybody interested," and they were in New England. Now, I believe this. I don't know the name of the book, but whatever the book I had just finished reading, it was about Blacks in New England. It went to Rhode Island. I don't know. This is how I know that I'm doing the right thing, because it's like something prepared me beforehand.
Yes.
And so I was like, I just spoke out of turn. I said, well, you didn't ask me. You didn't really try hard enough. Did you try the churches?
Oh.
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, drop the mic. And so I was like, I don't ever want to hear that you say you don't know where to go find them. So that's when I started the podcast. I said, I'm going to highlight all Black women ADs the first couple of months that I do it. So I think I started in August. I think by February of 2013, it was the fall. It was funny. The engineer was like, "Well, you really won't have that to me." And I said, "Just watch me." And it helps because other people can see who they can become.
Mm.
And then
Yeah.
I did a Facebook Live last night. No, I had a podcast yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And a young lady works at University of Arkansas, and I said, "How have you grown from the garden?" And she says, "Oh, I made some connections offline with some of the people that's in the group." See, that's what, and again, she says
There you go.
community. And like we do go to some events, and when I do, I have I said, "Come meet me for breakfast at 6 a.m." I had 25 people. Do you know they wanted to be there?
What?
They wanted to be there. You
Okay
see what
now.
I'm saying? We went to the Super Bowl brunch. I had dinner. Had about 12, 15. So, and once, again, I think I had like 12 in Las Vegas. Now, there's a lot of things you can do in Las Vegas, but they
There
took
is a
time
lot.
to be able to bond in person with these people. So
Mm.
I would say the number of people that you can go and touch and know has increased.
Mm-hmm.
And it's increased with the different expansion of needs. Fortunately, it was service areas like academic advising,
Yeah.
student athlete development. Now mental health. Now people are putting their shingles down and joining athletic departments because the NCAA said you must have a mental health professional, either a therapist or a full-fledged psychotherapist. It could be a social worker with certifications. And to me, bringing that to the people, like I never even thought of that. Okay, well now I'm telling you, because there's an organization called Alliance of Social Workers in Sports. She was in the magazine. They offered a course for $2,000, for social workers to be certified in the sports world. So just the expansion of the different areas. However, because you said a decade, in the midst of all this, we
Yep.
have the student athlete movement.
Mm.
And the movement, and I'm going to do a webinar probably in June, comparing that to the civil rights student movement of SNCC.
Okay.
And
Ooh.
because it's similar, because it's the transfer of power. Is where we are. Now they're becoming their self-advocacy for themselves. But for me as a consultant for athletic administrators, how do I protect you? Like, okay, number one, stay away from the water cooler. Number two, begin to think of yourself as an advocate to provide the students with agency over their brand. Okay. Even if you are an academic advisor, the young lady having a podcast this week, she said helps them get agency over their schedule. Like, what classes are we going to take to assist you, with this new piece? It's a entrepreneur class. How can that fit to make sure you do this? You follow me?
Yeah.
Versus going by the schedule that in order to graduate, got to have this, or not even saying anything to this. Here's your schedule to keep you eligible. See, that's the difference. You got to learn how to become the advocate for them and teach them how to have critical thinking. And so that's how you protect yourself. Very simple. Like you said, Ida B. Wells, I just happened to fall upon Ella Baker. Ella Baker was the advisor for SNCC. And I started on a college campus in Shaw. And it really was, the civil rights began to use students to get their attention. Okay. All right. But now her point was, okay, well, we need to teach them how to have self-agency over themselves. Let them root. And so she was more like a grassroots, when all honor to those who set the trail. Okay. No doubt. Because there's more than one way to get to a destination. So their destination with NAACP and MLK was to go to different cities, hit bam, hit bam, hit bam.
Yeah.
Hers was to stay in the city for like a week, 2 weeks, live amongst the people, because their mindset was there's more grassroots, more blue collar workers than there are the elite to be able to make things. But you do know it takes both. You follow me? So my point is, there are a lot of people who are leaving the business because they don't believe or have not. I got to do unlearning too. I've been in for 30 years.
Yeah.
And there's some things I did. Like I told somebody on another podcast, I would hold the scholarship. Like, okay, yeah, I know this is just basketball, but I need you to play softball in order to keep this money right here. See, that's totally wrong. But you don't know it's wrong because this is what you're seeing other coaches, other administrators do in order to survive.
Yeah.
And I did not know that was what now it would be called.
Yeah.
It would manipulation. It would be called harassment.
Yeah.
All of those. You got to unlearn the things that how you cannot coach the way you were coached. You cannot run somebody and say no water. You can't even. I remember these days. We lost and we didn't stop and go eat. You can't do any of that. And so that's how it's changed. Because again, we are going to say that's not right.
Yep.
When even the thing about pregnancy, all right, the pregnancy with student athletes. Yeah, it really was. People will put it in their policies. If you become pregnant, you lose your scholarship. This was the 90s. It was the 2000s where people started bringing that to attention. The NCAA said, "Oh no, this is a Title IX, and these are the ways you need to go about doing it." You see, I'm gonna give you one more. When my first job, August of 1990. I got my master's in 94. But I was in the midst of getting my master's, and I wanted a raise because I'd been I think about 2 years. The lady who hired me, a woman, very first woman in the CIAA, said to me that I could not make as much as my coworker because he was the head of his household. Okay. Now, mind you, she's only doing what she's been told. She'd been there 30 years by the time I got there.
Yeah.
So there was no, this is wrong, Me Too movement, none of that.
No.
All right. And she wouldn't have told me something wrong.
Yeah.
I didn't even know to be appalled.
Yeah.
All I kept saying was, okay, well, if I'm the only person in my household, wouldn't I be the head? But that's the only reason why, that's the only thing. I was confused, But my point is, parents will parent to what they already know. It's a learning process. But now when you know better, you got to do better.
Yeah.
And I would say it used to be a lot of Queen Bee syndrome. I got here. You better figure out how to get there on your own. I'm not helping you. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the changes that we have seen. We have no more roles to serve. But now we must unlearn some things if we've been in here for at least 20 to 25. And I would say the one thing I really, really want to see is confidence growth. And the fear of failure, there's no failure, it's just feedback. And for you to go back and try it again. That's what we got to work on. Because I would say about 20 years ago, women would get in, but then they would get out. They wouldn't stay.
It's like the door, just as soon as you come in, you're coming right on out.
Yeah, because I want to start a family. Okay, so who said you couldn't have a family and do this? Because I didn't see anybody doing it. We still have some issues with the insurance says that you can't travel with your child. And okay, so that means that you need to start interviewing them when they're interviewing you. Just like I tell you about the entrepreneur part. That offended you apparently when you saw that. I mean, there could be sometimes you do that so you can see who you weeding out. Because if that bothered you and that's not your audience, maybe you need to get that audience, then you would hire me. But if you don't want to get that audience, my perspective, I mean, think about it from the fashion entertainment world. Remember they had that that chain looked like a chokehold. They needed somebody. Oh no, that's not an audience. Well, you need to be that audience because guess what? That might not have been your audience, but everybody else saw how you attacked the audience and you lost the audience you did have.
Oh, hello. That part. I'm just saying. See, I mean, hey, once again, dropping some gems here. So your podcast, all right, has been spotlighting Black women in athletics for 11 years, which is an eternity, by the way, in podcast years.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what has hosting that platform taught you and how has it shaped your own voice in the industry?
Well, when I travel, they're like, "Are you the chat in the garden lady?" I said, "Yes, I am. How are you?" And then when I'm not there, they say, "Aren't you a garden member? You a garden member?" It's like it's not a secret society because it's
Yeah.
public,
Yeah.
but it gives you again. I'm not Greek, but it's the same like a sorority.
Mhm.
I just had my 35th class reunion. We
Mhm.
didn't remember each other's names. We just knew, hey, Dynasty, that's our class name.
Yep.
You follow me?
Yep.
So it gives you that sense of community again.
Yeah.
And so the voice part it's actually international. We got some individuals that are international, have been on the podcast, that are in the group. Did not know any of this when I did it. So I had a publicist and she wanted me to be on this podcast. Podcast was very ghetto. And I was like, girl, why did you put me on this thing? Okay,
Yeah.
no. Okay, that's not but she didn't say it was podcast. She said it was a radio show. And I was like, this is not radio.
See now.
I was like, I majored in this. This is not. Now, mind you, I can still do a good splice. Listen for that dead air and cut and paste. Okay?
Yes.
So I knew, but mind you, now they do it by their fingers. But yeah, back in the day, you really had to have the cutting mechanism and
The
to do that.
tools.
I interned at BET and I interned at the local television station here in Norfolk, Virginia. I didn't like it because I did not like, number one, somebody in your ear. My teacher worked at the TV station and made me take this producing class. So I know how to produce a show. I mean, like even when I run championships, a program, my mind works like this, and a timeline. So when I told the guy, I was like, so she brought me to somebody else, Clark Garrison. His network was Survival Radio Network. And I said, okay, I'll do it, but I want full control over my show, who my guests are, all that good stuff. And so we did it. And he said, you got to have a Facebook group. I said, what's that? So the Facebook group came as a companion to the show because somebody told me I had to. All right. Then the logo, and he said, we have somebody within our network that will do. Then when the word podcast came about, I said, I can embrace that. I have a podcast. I just could not say I had a radio show because people will say, what's the call letters?
Yeah.
And I was like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So it has really, because I come from the media background, I don't necessarily call myself the media. I've never really asked for a press pass for something. You follow me?
Yeah.
Now I do a vendor space to sell the magazine. You follow me?
Yeah.
But for me, I'm doing it as a vehicle to get the people out there. So get their names out there to educate the next, because we got a lot of sports management programs so they can know what to become. You see what I'm saying? So it is different from me being media, because I'm not asking those questions like, well, how did you deal with that investigation? No, I'm not putting the people out there. I'm trying to help them.
Hey, business rock stars. Got big PR plans for 2025? Then you need the 2025 PR Plan and Workbook. It's your step-by-step guide to owning the media spotlight, building buzz, and making big moves this year. And guess what? Early bird pricing is live right now, but it won't last long. So why pay more later when you can snag it now and save those extra coins for coffee runs during media pitch marathons? I don't know. Go grab it today, because once it's gone, well, you'll be wishing you hit that buy button sooner. Let's make 2025 your breakout year. Early bird pricing ends soon. Visit brandingpr.com/resources. So let's talk about significance in athletics and sports, your magazine. All right. So we talked about your podcast. Hello. Let's talk about the magazine. What stories or themes do you feel are missing in mainstream sports media that your magazine helps to elevate?
Well, it is the different career paths. That's really, I try to get it purchased in bulk for sports management majors and women's teams, because most of them, they see they can become as a coach or athletic trainer, but they don't necessarily think about the mental health person, the marketing person, the sports information who's different from the marketing person, the facilities, um, all those type. I have a student that's a woman in facilities at a Division II school in New York, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and she became aware of it because that was her GA position. But when she was in my class, everybody want to be a sport agent, but they don't necessarily know that all the different areas that you can serve the student athlete and assist. So even with her, she actually does rentals, which means she does what? Affects the bottom line.
Mm.
So it's just all the different career situations that would not necessarily be on your radar unless you knew somebody directly. So I think that's what, and I did it because most of the NCAA magazines, they offer opportunity for the president or something of every like different organization. So like NACDA has equipment people, marketing people, and then you get one thing once a year with
Mm-hmm.
one little head. And I was like, oh no, we got too many people out here who need to tell their expertise. What is the thing that you did at your institution that could be duplicated at other institutions if they followed your framework or your methodology? And either they bring them as a consultant or they can take it just from, their article. But then you're an expert. And let's just say they had a panel about how did people, let's say COVID, how did you serve your community? Did you use your facility for testing?
Mm.
And so when we came back from COVID, did those people still have affiliate with you because they might not have been to that campus beforehand?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm.
how did it become a community builder? And so if I had a story about someone who did that and how it raised their profile,
Mm.
I think I shared about the young lady who's at Edward Waters. She was the AD and she came to me. She was a student after development. Well, when I sent her out to go find who was into DEI and how they go get their grant money, see, that became obvious for her because I said, you got the personality, so just go ahead and duplicate that. And then people notice it. Had another young lady who was a high school volleyball coach who wanted to be an AD. I said, be an administrator before you're an administrator. Get all of your players certified with the NCAA. Go
Mm.
get a folder for each one of them.
Yeah.
Find out what courses they need to. So the superintendent, and so we created a logo. A slogan. We're recruit ready. And she would put it on different social medias and what one of her students got an offer for college.
Mm.
So the superintendent saw it and called her in and said, I want you to apply for the AD job.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. And that's how it takes off from there. So
Mm-hmm.
you conduct executive coaching and workshops for both student athletes and the athletic staff. What are the most common mindset blocks do you see, and how do you coach folks through them?
That's funny because even my executive coaching and my workshop, I start with mindset first.
Mm.
I work on mindset first before I do anything with skill set.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's, again, it's the unlearning and knowing that you don't know that you're operating in a certain perspective because all you've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first step. Because again, you'd be really interested if I asked you what really guides your decisions. And you're talking to me, and I can tell that you're doing these jobs to show your parents that they didn't waste their money, but it's
Mm.
still not your calling. And so it's funny, your subconscious mind has more power on you than your conscious. And so
Mm.
you're self-sabotaging yourself.
Yeah.
You follow me?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, again, I told you, come to me, you can be okay to be uncomfortable because we got to be able to address this.
Yes.
And some people, I say, you got to put the whistle up.
Hello.
Yeah, I can help you be an administrator. I don't do coaching and placement. Now, with coaches, I've been asked to, from athletic directors, to help the coach work with the new student athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And so I created this game called the Newly Committed game, similar to the
Okay.
Newlywed game. And
Ooh,
so,
okay.
Newlywed game, you say, does she like butter on her popcorn? Yes or no? Okay.
Yeah.
So you think about it. If somebody knows that about you, they know you.
They know. They
All
know.
right.
All
I
right.
hate to
Yeah.
tell you, today's world, a kid wants to know you know about them, not what they can do for you. And
Mhm.
if you don't know that they were raised by a grandmother, or they like butter on their popcorn, or don't like popcorn, or let's just be honest, they're allergic to popcorn, that means you don't even know me.
Mm.
That's
Mm.
going to be a problem. And so you got to learn how to build trust fast, because now we got the portal, and they're going to leave with the quickness. All right. And then with the portal where somebody offered me more money. Yeah, and Don Stanley. I love how she was gracious to a young lady that transferred from her place to LSU. She
Mm-hmm.
said that your foundation came from here, and you will always be a Gamecock. So the way that she handled that girl is gonna love her for the rest of her life still.
100%.
Because
100%.
I'm going to tell you, and I know I might get sued, but that coach at LSU, she don't care about nobody but herself.
Well, listen, that might be another episode. Talk about that one. She got the charisma. I see it. I see it. But that don't always mean that you care about an individual. In fact, it almost is the opposite, because I think charisma is often closely linked to narcissism. But
Yeah.
that's another conversation.
Well, I'm just gonna say this one thing.
Mhm.
Go read Brittany Griner's first book,
Okay.
and that would tell you why telltale sign.
Mhm.
Because the girl from that just transferred,
Yeah.
she has a girlfriend. I'm praying that she's accepted.
Ah, okay. I'm definitely gonna check it out. I'm putting it on my book list because I love a good book now. That's something we didn't talk about now. I love a good book. I will definitely check that out.
And
All
I'm
right.
reading Donna's book now too.
Yes, yes. Oh, because that's right. She just came out with that. I saw a couple interviews she did talking about it for the tour. Okay, yeah, yeah. That's another one that's on my list to check out for sure. Okay. So how do you teach confidence, especially to those entering spaces where they might be the only one in the room?
Hmm. Well, confidence is not something that you can teach.
Ooh, okay.
You can't think your way
You
into
got it or
confidence.
you don't. It's how you feel.
Right. I mean, but you can work your way through it. So here's the point.
Yes.
Okay, so remember in church, and they would make you do the poems.
Ooh, yep,
Right. See
yep.
your whole body
Pressure,
move, right?
pressure's on.
But you had support.
Yes.
Like, go ahead, baby, go ahead. And they're all clapping for you. You up here turning your little
Yep.
dress up and everything, and
Yep.
got your finger in your nose. Didn't nobody care. They were like, go ahead, baby.
Go
So
ahead.
then when you get in teenage, girl, you run the whole program. You the MC of the whole program.
Yep.
You're in an environment where you can't fail.
Yeah.
So that's not the teaching, that's actually the coaching. You doing. So then again, Toyota Advanced Academy, one of my members teaches, she does challenges. And I so when she came to me, she said she serves student athletes. I said, you can also serve administrators. I said, I want you to do this challenge.
Mhm.
Girl, let me tell you, same girl about the esports. She went through the challenge. Now she built her confidence up to
Mm.
speak to other universities when they're at the competitions. And
Mm.
they're going to get different monies and to apply for different ones,
Yep.
because when they go, they pay for all the kids to go.
Mm.
Now, You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So it's about being in an environment. Now, for me, I used to stutter when I was in high school. And
Really?
I was not allowed to speak at graduation. Well, usually the SGA president did.
Mm-hmm.
And so at 18, that was very heartbreaking. Okay.
Yeah.
And so in the career, I would sometimes do it as well. And I learned that I would stutter if I was really thinking about who was in the audience and how they would view me. But
Mm,
if I was speaking in front of a crowd that I didn't know who they were, number one.
yeah.
Number two, that I knew more than they did.
Mm-hmm.
What I
Mm,
had was valuable
yes.
and they need me.
Hello.
So my stuttering really stopped when I began to present at the CIAA board meetings in front of presidents. And they, now mind you, there was not a good crowd because I was telling things. Okay, yeah, you got a compliance issue. You need to hire a compliance person because if you don't do this, the NCA is coming for it.
Oh,
Well, they sometimes they didn't, just like consulting, they didn't do it. My staff would be like, so and so just got the penalty. I was like, oh, okay, oh well. I guess it list to me next time. They did. They said, who should I hire? I said, here are the list. You see what I'm saying?
yeah.
So when you know more, and again, you got to go study and make sure you prepare. So
Mm,
then when they come shoot you with something,
yep.
you'll be able. Now I remember a staff member that was a male that was over compliance, and he was doing the workshops for the coaches. Now that's the whole point. When you know you're in a battle, okay, you got to think about what kind of materials you already have. And I mean, he started sweating and having anxiety attack. I
Oh,
said, how
wow.
can I fix this? So
Yeah.
I said, this is what we're going to do. We'll no longer have a large meeting. You will travel to each school and you will do the presentation each school.
Mm-hmm. Mm,
He soared from that. He's now still in the business. He went from the conference office. He's at Florida A&M right now. Um, but
yes.
but again, so again, it's not necessarily teaching, it's
Mhm.
evaluating, watching, giving suggestions. And then again, I got a person who actually does communication. She
Yeah.
talks about how to stop the stuttering, the nervousness, because that's one of the main, stage fright is one of the main things. And actually entertainers and singers have the same issue.
Yep.
So it's one that not necessarily athletic administration, it's across the board.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I would throw a person to tell you, I'll throw you out there. I said, no, I need you to do so and so. So
Yeah.
I said, I'll be there with you. And then I just did that with a student this semester. She was a communications major, and we're having a press conference at Boo Williams. That's the AAU, 40 years in business with Nike. And they didn't have anybody to do the press conference. I said, okay, you do it. And then she kept saying, "You want to read my?" No, I said, I know that you know how to do this." So
Yeah.
I did the decorations. She led it. They loved it, and she got paid.
Uh,
A
hello.
student.
Hello. As a student. Hello. I know that's right. Well, it's amazing. It's amazing. And it just is a true testament to the work that you provide for these people that are looking for support, that are looking for that guidance. But that is kind of an age-old, I feel like, debate is, can it be taught? And you just explained so well how it's not really so much as teaching as it is coaching and being in the space of, like, I keep going back to and thinking of coaching up somebody the
Mm-hmm.
same way when we were coached up in church, and the same way you're coached up with your team. The same thing applies in your adulthood, and as you're getting into your career, you still need that. So it's almost like a constant nurturing, and it's a constant thing that you're working on, and not so much, I taught you the thing and now you do it. Not with
Mm-hmm.
confidence. Absolutely not.
Right. You got to put your reps in. Got to put your reps
Yeah.
in.
You got to see, okay, I like the sports reference. Okay, you got to put your reps in. I know that is right. All right. So before we wrap up, I have my last couple questions for you. For someone listening right now who's thinking, I want to do what Monique does, what's your
Mhm.
one piece of unfiltered advice?
Well, I do a lot of things. So let's just say somebody wants to know how to leave a legacy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would say it's a mindset. leaving a legacy is not about seeking success. It's about seeking significance. So you may not be around to see the fruit that you have planted, the seeds that you have planted, but you know that in your heart and hearts, this is what needs to be done.
Yeah.
You take something that you did not like about your life and you make sure no one else has experienced it. That's leaving significance.
Oh, no, I like that. Leaving that significance. I like that a lot. All right. And last but not least, how can listeners connect with you, tap into your programs, or pick up the latest issue of your magazine?
Well, all the issues are on Amazon, so you can all go get them there. I usually don't carry inventory for all of them, but for the latest one, you can go get from our store. It is seedsofempowermentstore.com. Seedsofempowermentstore.com. And I actually have a t-shirt. Let me just put it right here.
Oh,
And
yeah. Okay.
I'm
I
pushing
see
the
that.
t-shirt. This is my podcast t-shirt. It
Nice.
was made during the pandemic because I didn't want to have any Zoom booms. So I put the question when people register, what is a chat in the garden? And I just put say podcast. No, the people gave a whole dissertation of what the podcast was. And I was like, I gotta use that.
Yeah,
So
you
I
gotta use that content. Hello.
right. So I just did it during the pandemic. Had time on my hands, just cut and paste. And so I am, it's warm weather, so now get the shirt out.
There you
And
go.
but I do like, in my podcast, you can go to chatinthegarden.com and listen to it. I will say, Blog Talk Radio dissolved. So I had to take all of my podcasts and I made a course. So that's like 11 years, 52 weeks.
Wow.
So I call it 200 plus expert. 200plus.expert. You can listen to all of the career paths. So that's the podcast, the book. And then I would just say, in order to do workshops, executive coaching, you can talk to me on LinkedIn, which is Monique A.J. Smith. And my email is Monique A.J. Smith at seedsofempowerment.info. If for some, I don't know how this is happening, but in case you're just not on LinkedIn, but it's highly unlikely that you are not. But I know about one or two, and I'm like, are you crazy? You're not on LinkedIn?
Now, come on, y'all. Like, you got to be on like LinkedIn. You got to be on something, please.
Yeah. So that's how you find me. And I've
Oh.
enjoyed this. This has been quite delightful.
Yes, well, I've enjoyed it as well. It has been so, so great to be able to speak with you and just hear more about your journey, your story, and just how far you've come, but how far you're going. Okay. And what you're building here in your legacy. It has been such a pleasure, Monique. And let's stay in touch.
Yeah, I'm
Definitely
gonna find
connect
you on LinkedIn.
offline. Yes, we'll definitely stay in touch. And I'll be sure to share all your information with my sports PR colleagues and our different networks, because what you're doing here is some great work and it's a necessary work, especially for these young athletes. Oh my goodness. And dealing with the NIL deals and all of that good stuff. It's definitely a beast in and of itself. So having some of that support and guidance is so, so needed. So definitely we'll be sharing that within my networks too. All right. Awesome. Well, again, such a pleasure to speak with you. And to the listeners, thank you for tuning in. And we'll see you next week on the Brandinc PR Podcast.